36 years. 36 years to get a sequel to one of the best 80s films. And I can't believe it took him that long. It got praised, but that's not what we do here. Why? Because I'm Berryman, and this is 10 Things Wrong With. Top Gun Maverick is a 2022 American action drama film directed by Joseph Kosinski. The film tells the story of Maverick confronting his past while training a group of younger Top Gun graduates, including the son of his deceased best friend, for a dangerous mission. When the film was released back in May, it got widely praised by critics, with many deeming it to be superior to its predecessor and become one of the highest grossing films of Tom Cruise's career. But because you guys all know who I am and what I do, it's not a perfect film. And there are things wrong with it, such as these 10 things wrong with Top Gun Maverick. Number 10, opening. So when watching this film, I actually started to think I was watching the original film. Why? Because the opening credits are near enough identical to the original film. I mean, the only difference is it's different names on the screen. But other than that, it was confusing and it wasn't different. Granted, it's a homage to the original film, but the opening, it did sort of, was a little bit jarring. I was like sat there thinking, have they put the wrong film on? But yeah, I didn't like the fact the opening was near enough identical. Number 9, rank. So in this film, Pete Maverick Mitchell holds the rank of captain, and he's held this rank for 39 years. He has a distinguished career, but he does have some insubordination issues. Now, going by American military rules, he would have either had to been promoted or forcibly retired. He would not still be a captain after that long. He would have had to been either some sort of admiral or, yeah, he would have retired and come back as a special consultant, because that would have worked, but he would not have made the rank of captain for that long. Number 8, drones don't need pilots. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So why am I bringing that up? Well, there's a part in the film where they turn around and say, drones are the future, drones don't need pilots. Unfortunately, they do. Now, they do need pilots to pilot the drones. Yes, these pilots are quite safe in a bunker, but they do need pilots. They're not AI controlled because, let's face it, the Skynet will then take over the world, we'll all be dead. That's a different film franchise. Drones, as cool as they are, and as safe as they make people be, you still do need pilots. Number 7, training. So Top Gun is a school to make pilots better. Great, I'm on board with that. It's taking the best of the best and making them even better. Awesome. So why is a school to train pilots to be better training to do a mission? Because I am sure that the naval aviators will do missions like that, which they would train for. So they're not always going to Top Gun, they would be having training centres. Right, this is the mission, what we need to do, let's train for this mission. Why is Top Gun doing that? Especially as it is a covert mission, so to speak, a dangerous mission, you'd have a designated facility for that. It doesn't make sense that a school is training. Well, it doesn't to me. Number 6, this is how it's done. So you're telling these pilots how to do their mission. Maverick's saying it can be done, it can be done. Then he shows them. Why didn't he show them first? Because they would have had more belief, right, he can do it, I can do it. Show. Don't tell. It's a brilliant training technique. Show them what you need them to be doing. This is what we're going to be doing. Show them. You don't actually go start a job and say, right, this is what you need to do, off you go. You are actually placed with people who show you what to do. They actually teach you what to do. There was none of that here. They would just say, right, this is the mission, off you go. When there was one person there who could show them, should have done it at the very beginning of their training course. Number 5, missing the target. One of the things they're struggling with is getting the laser pointer, which is underneath a plane, to hit the target. But the thing is, that's not how laser targets work. Well, it is. It's more how the actual apparatus worked, because they're on a gimbal, so the plane can do all this and go all over the place, but the target will remain. So all you have to do is just move it, that's the target, and the plane can do whatever it wants, and the gimbal will keep that thing locked on where it's supposed to be. So all this tension about struggling to hit the target, that probably would have been the easiest part of the entire mission. Number 4, bird strikes. So yeah, once again, they're copying the first film. A plane with a trainee has got hit. It's got to go down. Unfortunately, this film did not have the emotion that it happened in the first film. It felt like it was just tagged on. It was there just to copy the first film. What made it worse is nobody passed away. And what made it even worse than that is the following scene was Iceman's funeral. And everything you've done with that plane crash, that everyone survived, was ruined because there was no emotion to that, and the emotion was all for the Iceman's funeral. You didn't actually need that scene to have a pilot crash. It didn't really work. Number 3, the trunk. So, during the mission, Maverick goes down. He's on the run for his life. He's being chased by a helicopter who starts firing. He jumps behind a trunk. He's dead. No, wait, what? That trunk saved him? I call BS. Sorry, guns on that helicopter would have been so high power caliber, it would have just torn that trunk to shreds. Maverick is dead. They didn't even have to do anything. He could hide behind wood. He's just going to go dead. No. Another BS. The first film was quite factually correct. This film is full of BS, really. Number 2, takeoff. So while Maverick and Rooster are making their escape, they find an F-14 Tomcat, basically the planes they used in the first film. The runway shot to shreds, and he says, we can make it, we can just do all this in that very short runway. Once again, BS. The F-14 Tomcat needs a 1/4 mile runway to actually take off. It wouldn't have made it. No matter how well it looked on screen and how much suspense you got out of it, it's a load of BS. It could have never, ever taken off in that short of a runway. Number 1, scared to pull the trigger. So one thing they did do in this film is they did a fake death on Maverick. Yeah, Maverick gets shot down and everyone thinks he's dead. And then he's not. And as much as we got some coolness out of that, e.g. Maverick and Rooster being back in the planes, that was cool. But how cool would it have been if they pulled the trigger and actually killed off Maverick? This isn't the 80s, you don't need the main character to survive nowadays. We're okay with stuff like that. And especially in a film like this, where everyone's got so much nostalgia and loves Pete Mitchell and Tom Cruise's portrayal of Maverick, if they pulled the trigger and actually didn't do a fake death and killed him, we would have been in bits. And yeah, I didn't like the fact they didn't. I think they could have gone with that. It could have worked. I mean, it doesn't really take much away from the film, but can you imagine how much emotion this film would have ripped out of everyone who was around in the 80s and saw this film? How much soul it would have ripped out of everyone. Yeah, I do wish they had pulled the trigger a little bit. Final thoughts. So what do I think of this film? Well, apart from the fact, yes, it is full of lots of BS, and I do wish they had pulled the trigger as well on killing Maverick, but other than that, it's a bloody good film. It's a really, really good film that is respectful to the original. And that's something a lot of sequels don't do. They don't make it respectful to the original, but this did. It was very respectful for that. Now, as regular viewers will see, now, as regular viewers will know, I'm not the world's biggest fan of flashbacks. You may notice I didn't put flashbacks in my list this week, and that's because the flashbacks were done brilliantly. It was at a good time, near the beginning of the film, It wasn't the main focus, we didn't have flashbacks all the way through it. It was one sequence where Maverick is remembering what happened in the previous film. It was done brilliantly, and I actually enjoyed that. And it does tug at the heartstrings. The other thing this film does that tugs at the heartstrings is that brilliant scene between Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer. Now, it's common knowledge that Val Kilmer is pretty much retired due to throat cancer, and I hope he does recover one way or the other. But having him in, talking on the actual laptop, it was a really, really moving scene, and it was so good to actually see him on the screen. And then when he stood up and started talking to Maverick, yeah, I nearly welled up at that point, especially as you know what the actor's gone through. Now, I found out he wasn't actually talking, it was an AI, which makes it even more impressive because it does sound like Val Kilmer. They had a robot talking in Val Kilmer's voice like it was Val Kilmer, and that was awesome. I'm not taking away from it. I'm not saying, oh, why did they use a robot? Because I tell you what, you can't tell. That was only research that told that. The scene itself was amazingly done. Another thing about this film is that I'm not really the biggest Miles Teller fan, but Miles Teller did his research. He did a very good job of playing Goose's son. He copied Anthony Edwards' mannerisms, his speech perfectly, because there were a few times you were like, is that Miles or is that Anthony? That's how good he was in this film. This is the first time I've actually seen a film with Miles Teller on and actually been blown away by his performance. He's not a bad actor, I just don't think he's awesome until today. This could be the film that changes my opinion of Miles Teller. We will see in the future. However, I am actually singing this film's praises, but it does have a few other issues. The soundtrack is okay. Now, normally that would be okay, but the soundtrack on the original film was absolutely phenomenal. Very high bar to live up to, and I don't think it was as good. The other thing I didn't really like about this film is it is essentially copying the same film. It's like something happens at the beginning, they go training, they do a mission, done. That's the same as what the first film was. It is the same story, just told slightly different. There's not really much new story to there. Yes, there's a lot more character development, but not much story development. So, what am I going to rank it? Now, I said at the beginning, critics actually prefer this one over the predecessor. I don't. I still think the 1986 version is a better film. Now, I did give that a 10 out of 10. I can't give this a 10 out of 10, I'm afraid. But I'm not going to be too harsh. I'm actually going to give it a 9 out of 10. It's a brilliant film, just doesn't quite hold up to the original. That's my opinion, though. There's probably going to be a lot of people who disagree with me. And if you do disagree with me, let me know in the comments below, because I love reading your comments telling me why you think I'm wrong. But that's what we're all here for. Other than that, on to next week. We are going to go back to a galaxy far, far away. That's what we're doing next week. It should be pretty obvious what I'm on about, because I've done quite a lot, and I've done quite a lot of that series. So if you want to find out what I find wrong with the greatest film out of that whole saga, come back next week. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.